the regular board meeting this evening. I will ask for a roll call.
Commissioner Veer?
Present.
Commissioner Posey?
Here.
Commissioner Weber? Commissioner Carter?
Here.
President Opid.
Here. Quick introduction tonight. We just have a slightly different agenda than we normally have, so we're actually going to hold a public hearing, what's called a Beina hearing, in a second. I'll do that first, and I'll ask for public comments during that Beina hearing. That's comments during that period are only related to the Beina hearing. We'll close that session, and then we'll have a second session, which is the public comments for the general meeting. So if there's something in general that you would like to comment on, please hold your comment to that second public comment session. And I just share that with you so you can kind of understand if I do ask you to hold a comment during the first one, as it's not appropriate, just so that you know we'll have a second chance, all right? And those will be right after each other, very quick in succession.
What will we talk on? Agenda items, or what are we?
In the second public comment, the first one is only related to Beina, which is a bond issuance. So during that public comment, we will comment on bonds. I will close that, and then we will open into the regular meeting, and then we'll have general public comments, Mr. Pluto, like you're used to. Just again, trying to lay it out so everybody knows how we're going to operate tonight, because it's a little bit different.
Yeah, I seen the agenda was good.
Okay, great. So I will ask any changes to the agenda this evening.
No changes, just an announcement. I want to let the board and the public know that our next meeting is scheduled October 20th to be at the community center. It is not going to be ready, so we will hold that meeting here, and then we will move the November or December meeting to community center pending the availability. So next meeting, October 20th, will be held here at the Recreation Center.
Okay, thank you. At this time, I would like to ask for a motion for remote participation by Commissioner Weber. So, can I get a second? Second.
Commissioner Veer?
Yes.
Commissioner Carter?
Yes.
Commissioner Posey?
Yes.
President Opid.
Yes. Just bear with us while we get him connected.
Hello?
Hello.
Hey, Chris, it's Jenny. How are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm good. So you are on the phone here, and then you were entered into the meeting. So we're going to continue to move on.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, great. At this time, I'd like to move to agenda item 1.A, and I would like to ask for a motion to enter the public hearing for the Beina topic. Thank you, Brad. Second?
Second.
Thank you.
Commissioner Carter?
Yes.
Commissioner Posey?
Yes.
Commissioner Weber?
Yes.
Commissioner Veer?
Yes.
President Opid.
Yes, okay, so just to set the stage here, this is a public hearing concerning the intent of the Board of the Park Commissioners to sell not to exceed $419,000 worth of general obligation limited tax park bonds to provide the revenue source to pay certain alternate bonds and for the payment of land condemned or purchased for parks, the building, maintaining, improving, and protecting of the same and the existing land and facilities of the district, and payment of those expenses incident thereto. So at this point, I would like to open the floor for any public comments related to these 419,000 general obligation limited tax park bonds. All right, seeing as there are no comments, I would ask for a motion to...
I do have a comment. What are these bonds related to? What are we going to buy with them?
It's basically to pay off debt we've already incurred.
We do it every year.
We do it every year. This is a process we do every year. Every year we do this once a year to basically pay off the bonds that we've issued previously.
These you don't have to pass.
Could you state your
pass
name?
the public. My name's Jim O'Connor.
Thank you, Jim.
So these are the type of bonds whereby the Park District has that amount of bonding power without going to referendum. Is that what this amount is?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Does anybody know what we asked last year? How much did we ask for?
Last year, it was somewhere between 375 and 400.
393.
393.
Are you the girl that does the books? You do a very good job.
Thank you.
Any additional comments on the Beina hearing? All right, seeing none, I'll ask for a motion to close that hearing.
So moved.
Second.
You were first, sorry. Commissioner Carter?
Yes.
Commissioner Posey?
Yes.
Commissioner Weber?
Yes.
Commissioner Veer?
Yes.
President Opid?
Yes.
Chris, sorry, Commissioner Weber, can you hear? I just want to make sure you can hear.
I can hear everything. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, now we will move on to agenda item 2, and we will start with the more traditional public comment session that we typically have, so I'll open the floor again. Just a reminder, please state your name and address if you'd like to make a public comment, and I would ask that you kindly try to limit your comments to 3 minutes. And I will open the floor. Just remember as well, it's not necessarily a Q&A session, it's for you to be heard, to express, so we may or may not respond or answer a question, but feel free to address us because we do enjoy hearing everything you have to say. So I'll open the floor, and well, let's get a mic too if we can to make sure that everyone can hear, if we can kindly do that. Would anyone like to make a comment this evening?
My name is John Pluto. I live at 718 East Avenue. There's 2 items I want to touch on. March 11th, Jenny, you appeared before the Plan Commission requesting a text amendment. And that text amendment was for hard court surfaces to be changed to special use from permitted use. Now, what that does is special use changes the requirement, and there are no longer 2 public meetings before this can happen. So you've taken away our right to speak at 2 public meetings from the village on these matters. I don't think that's right. You kind of cut the public's legs off, and we don't get a voice in it if we don't like something about what you're going to do. Next thing is, when I talked with you about the catch basins in the park, there's 5 of them by the baseball fields, and we have a water line that runs across that park from the village that was put in 2010. They procured an easement from the park district. Now, that water line, I have a map that shows where the water line goes, and a couple of your soil bores where the benzos are relevant and has to get covered are right next to that water line. I also have a letter from the EPA that back in 1986, there was a water line on the side of the gas company building that rotted out prematurely. It was 10 years old from the benzos. I have another letter, which was from Huff and Huff that did the report there that said the EPA wanted to come in and dig that water line back up because they patched that steel line in '86. And before they did any work, they wanted to make sure that that water line wasn't rotted out. And that was a plastic one. So the steel one had rotted out, and they wanted to check the plastic one because they've had bad luck in other places. Well, that water line is buried underneath chemicals that possibly could be deteriorating that water line. And the village, it's their water line. What are we going to do about that? It's a 12-inch water line that goes from 49th Street all the way to 47th Street to Bluff Avenue. It feeds Bluff Avenue. So we have another Pandora's box opened here. And you people are going full gun ahead with your plans. We have to test everything in this park to make sure that it's perfectly safe for all the people that are in it. Now, we have those catch basins. They need to be sampled. That's the black box of an airplane. We will find out if there's groundwater that's coming off of where that water line was put in 2010, where it was disturbed. If there's anything that's going to be dirty, it's going to be in those catch basins, and all of those catch basins are full because it says that on your topographical survey. So before you go making master plans here, you better take care of and remediate this park so that it's safe for everyone to be there.
Thanks,
Thank you.
John.
Additional comments?
Actually, you can give it to Jamie.
All right, if there's no further comment, we'll move on to the next agenda item.
So I'd like to introduce Jamie Wilkkey. She is from Lauderbach and Amen. She's here to present our 2024-2025 audit.
Thank you. Thank you for having me this evening. I do apologize in advance for adding quite a few pages to your board packet. So my goal this evening will be to cover the results of the Park District's annual audit. That is for fiscal year end April 30th, 2025. You should have a large bound document in front of you. I will provide some page number references this evening for the board as we make our way through that document. Certainly want to start off by thanking the staff. I know comments were already made about Jamie and her skill set in the finance and accounting space, and certainly we saw that in the audit process as well. The Park District has traditionally had a very clean audit process, and that was certainly the case again this year. So really enjoy working with her and the team. She's always very responsive, providing information we need, as well as Jenny's support and other department heads. So thank you all for your efforts. We'll start in that large document on page 6, which provides a copy of the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting. I point this out each year because this is really another review that is conducted of the Park District's audit on an annual basis. That review is conducted by the Government Finance Officers Association, or what we call GFOA. The award program you see in front of you on page 6 is really deemed the highest level financial reporting that any local or state government can undertake. There's quite a long list of criteria to meet that kind of requirement for the award, and we're happy to report that the Park District did in fact receive that award for last year. We will be working with the team, Jamie in particular, to again submit this year's audit document to the GFOA, and we obviously anticipate receipt of that award for this year's audit as well. Immediately after that page, on pages 9 through 11, you'll find the independent auditor's opinion. Each year, any local unit of government is required under Illinois state statute to undertake an independent audit. That typically has to be completed within 6 months after the close of the fiscal year. So we are here tonight to meet that statutory obligation. Each year as we come in, we are required to really take a look at 2 key items. Number 1 is to make sure that the financial statements that have been presented to us by staff are in fact materially correct. So that is indicated by what we call an unmodified or clean audit opinion. So anytime you hear clear opinion from the auditors, that's really the result you want each year. Topic 2 that gets covered each year is a review of the internal control environment. So we are not required under state statute to opine on internal controls, but we are required to test them pretty robustly each year. So making sure we can rely upon the Park District's policies, procedures, workflows, sign-offs, segregation of duties, all of those buzzwords that auditors like to see in place. And certainly if there were any areas of concern, red flags, or exceptions during that internal control testing, we would have to discuss those tonight. And I'm happy to report we did not have any exceptions during our internal control testing. So truly the cleanest opinion you can receive each year. After the audit opinion on pages 13 through 21, you'll find a section labeled Management's Discussion and Analysis, or MD&A. 9 pages covered in this section of the report really deem the executive summary to the audit. We have almost 120 pages. We seem to be adding every year, unfortunately. So these 9 pages, I would encourage the board to read in detail. This really provides key results for the fiscal year as well as comparables to last fiscal year. So some of the high-level transactions, some of those kind of key results you'll see summarized in more of an executive summary type of format, again covering on pages 13 through 21. Overall, you'll see through there a couple of key transactions. The value of the park district, or what we call equity, did improve for the year. That's certainly something we like to see each year, that the overall value of the district is continuing to increase year over year. And you'll see discussion in there related to capital assets, long-term debt activity. Those tend to be the 2 big transaction items on any park district set of financial statements. So again, I would encourage you to spend a little time in that section. Flipping to pages 63 to 64, I do want to highlight the results for the park district's pension plan, which the park district participates in IMRF. So funded status for any pension plan in the state of Illinois is always a key indicator. On the far right column of page 64, towards the bottom of that page, you'll see that the park district ended the year at about 93% funded. Current state statute requires that any local pension plan in the state be 90% funded by the year 2040. So you have already met your statutory obligation related to that. But I do point out this is a moving target, so folks come into the park district, folks retire. That percent funded really relates to just a specific point in time. But again, very positive results there. Pages 65 and 66 provide the scorecards, as I call them, for the general fund and recreation fund. I won't go through these in detail, but you'll see provided here are the original and final budget figures along with actual results for the fiscal year. Both funds did exceed budgetary expectations as we compare those budget to final columns as well. The last section of the document I'll point out begins on page 92 and takes you all the way through 119. This is a fairly robust section. Unfortunately, most people don't make it this far in the audit each year, so always like to point it out. But it is what we call our statistical section. This is one of the sections required for the certificate award that we talked about earlier. Really a wealth of historical information at the back of the audit. You'll see 10-year trend information for financial results, long-term debt activity, property tax information, certain operating indicators, etc. So again, from a board member or commissioner perspective, there's really a wealth of information at the back of that document. Lastly, we do provide a management letter each year as part of the audit process. That is our opportunity to provide any recommendations to staff. So these would be items that are not deemed internal control findings or things that we might deem significant deficiencies or material weaknesses, but more along the lines of communicating compliance changes in the future, maybe best practices, etc. We had no new recommendations this year and did provide communication on 2 new governmental accounting standards board or GASB changes that will be coming in future fiscal years. I actually testified in front of GASB for both of these, so I could spend days and days talking about them, but I promise I won't this evening. But just know we'll be working with Jamie and the team to make sure that each is implemented in accordance with those standards. So one will be next fiscal year and the other the following fiscal year. Happy to open it up for any questions that you all might have this evening, but certainly wanted to reiterate the clean audit and no internal control findings.
Any questions? Great. Okay, it's hard to ask questions when it's so clean. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Jamie.
All right, next we will turn to agenda item 2.3 to talk about some updates.
Yes, so tonight we have Eli, I'm going to mispronounce it, Rogatz? And Gage Berger here tonight. Eli is from Testing Service Corporation, and Gage is from White and Company. So White's going to talk a little bit about the drainage, and Eli's going to talk a little bit about the testing that we've recently done. So I think if Eli, if you wouldn't mind starting, and maybe talk just a little bit about the testing. Can we get him a microphone? Sorry. And I'm going to put up the exhibits that we have. So I guess where we left off with Testing Service Corporation is they did the first round of testings. Now we're in the program for the No Further Remediation letter, and we did some testing for that. And I will turn that over to you.
So during the initial investigation that we conducted a couple months ago, we advanced 12 soil borings in and around this yellow highlighted area here, which covers most of the northeast corner of Sedgwick Park. The purpose of that investigation was to identify and further delineate contaminants that have been identified during an earlier soil sampling event. The results of that sampling did show contamination in the form of primarily metals with some non-volatiles, so semi-volatile components. Were present down to depths from approximately 1 foot beneath the surface to about 12 feet beneath the surface. So based on these initial results, we had the primary area of delineation. Now based on the results that we got from this assessment, we had 2 different categories of how we were going to handle these issues. So the first issue, and for the worst impacts, we were going to be putting a soil barrier over the contaminated area. This would serve as a barrier to prevent anyone from coming into contact with anything that is above the remediation objectives for residential land use, which is the most stringent, which is applied for park sites. So first category, for the worst impacts, they would be covered by a soil barrier, be placed roughly in this red outlined area. The second set of impacts will be managed through things that are considered land use controls or institutional controls. So these would be things like construction worker notifications to let people know where they're going to be potentially coming into contact with contaminated material, or something like a groundwater use restriction, which is actually already in place for the site and surrounding areas. So what that does is it essentially prevents anybody from going out, installing a groundwater well and using that well for potable purposes, so nobody can go out and hook up their house to a groundwater well in this area, and that applies to all of Chicago and most of the surrounding suburbs. So based on those 2 categories that we had, with the primary impacts requiring a cover and the secondary impacts requiring management through other controls, we recently went out 2 weeks ago to collect some additional samples. These were done in 3 areas where we had found lower levels of contaminants. So these were levels that could be potentially managed in place. So the 3 areas, A, B, and C, totaled about 1.2, 1.3 acres. So we advanced, I believe it was 5 samples in area A, 5 samples in area B, and 7 samples in area C. The goal from this sampling would be to try and reduce the area that's going to require the soil cover, since that is going to take the most amount of work and effort to put in place. So currently, we have those samples there with the lab, and we are waiting on those results. And that is where we are currently at with trying to determine the full extent and potentially reduce the ultimate size of the park that will require remediation.
Does the board have questions?
Yeah, I have one I'd like to ask. So you said very early on that contaminants were between 1 and 12 feet, I believe. So is the top layer, that top 1 foot, is considered clean at this point, or is there any risk in the topsoil, the first 12 inches of topsoil?
So we have analyzed it. We have collected the first 12 inches of topsoil, and that does meet the residential standards. So what we believe is that that topsoil was brought in after the contaminated material was dumped. That was used to level out the site and then plant the grass that's been there since the 1950s. So that top foot of soil that's currently out there is uncontaminated, and our plan is to actually reuse that during the remediation stage so that we don't have to import quite as much material.
So if it rains on the current top 1 foot and we had runoff, would you expect any runoff water to show any signs of contamination?
For that to happen, you would have to have the rainwater or surface water actually percolate into the ground and then somehow reemerge. We do, in addition to the soil sampling we did, we have installed 6 wells, permanent wells across the site. These were all installed to the upper bedrock layer, so that was about 20 feet max. Bedrock is very shallow here. Since we've installed those, it's been about 4 months, and we do not have a groundwater layer at the park. Based on previous assessments and different well logs that were done, and from the quarry next door, we believe groundwater is about 80 feet below the surface. So it is a little bit unusual, but there is no shallow groundwater that we've identified at this property.
Okay, so follow up to that, there were some questions and statements in the past regarding catch basins. Based on what you see, would you expect, I'm not saying you tested it, I'm just saying, would you expect, what would be the probability you would think of finding any contaminants in those catch basins?
The problem isn't necessarily with finding the contaminants, it's being able to trace those to a source. Mm-hmm. The issue with catch basins and any apparatus that's meant to collect waste from a large area is you're going to have a cross-contamination, so it is very difficult, and it would be very difficult, especially given the contaminants that we're looking at, to go in and sample any type of offsite source to see if we are impacting that. For example, the main issues we have at the site are lead, arsenic, and some, like I said, semi-volatiles. Those are all compounds that you see used in roadways, used in different materials, coming off of trucks, coming off of cars. So essentially, if we did go to sample catch basins and we did say that that was coming from the park, we would be opening ourselves up to potential liability and having to address any concern that was found. So it is not something that is recommended. I would not recommend it. It is also not something that I think would give us very accurate results to say what is coming from the park site itself and what's coming from off-site sources.
Okay, thank you.
And wouldn't you say that what we're doing is best practice and following the EPA guidelines?
Yeah, so the balance with the EPA is balancing what is the most protective of human resources or humans, and also being most mindful of what the resources are available to handle and address these concerns. Initially, we did look at some more involved remediation to remove this contamination and haul it off-site. The costs for that were, put it mildly, prohibitive. So the way that the EPA looks at this is essentially if you can eliminate the exposure pathway, so that would be for somebody to come in contact with the contaminated media, whether that's soil or groundwater. If you can eliminate that and show it and prove it to the EPA conclusively, then that control works in the same manner to prevent exposure and manage that contamination in place for a longer period of time. So there would, and with this, there would be continuing controls to make sure that the park remains in this state once the remediation is achieved. So this is something that will be ongoing or will be maintained once it is put in place.
And so what are next steps then for us?
So the next steps, we are waiting on the delineation sample results. Once we have the delineation sample results, we'll be able to further define our remediation area and the area that will require the clean soil cap. From that point, we will go ahead and submit our original findings, so all of the investigations that we've done up to this point, along with our proposed plans and how we intend to essentially achieve our remediation goals. All of that will go to the Illinois Voluntary Remediation Program for their review. Once it goes through their review, they will deny or approve or ask for potential modifications to our plan. And once that goes through, then we'll be approved and can move forward with our remediation strategy.
Okay.
So 50 years, 100 years down the line, we have a consolidated, contaminated site. What is the danger of that leaching into neighboring sites 50 years down the road or something?
So the biggest concern would be groundwater leaching from this property to other sites. That is something that we are doing an assessment on. So even though there isn't groundwater here, we are looking at how far potential contaminants could migrate if they were to get into a groundwater stream. I will say again, the controls that are currently in place, so the groundwater use restriction, would be the main control to prevent anyone from coming into contact with contaminated groundwater if it did exist. So a lot of this is the goal of everything is really to identify the problems and make sense of the problems and then show that they won't ever be an issue for human populations. So
we have 20 foot down to bedrock. And you said the groundwater is how far down?
about 80 feet.
80 feet. So basically, these are, you said a lot of metals. Can they seep through that much rock to get into the groundwater?
Not bedrock, no. They would have to dissolve into groundwater. That groundwater would have to dissolve through bedrock. That would be a extended process. And just based on what we've seen on the site, we don't see that happening.
Yeah.
And we don't really even see presence of previous groundwater. So sometimes you can see with the water table kind of where it's moving back and forth. You can see where it's pulling things out of sediment. Based on what we saw, there doesn't appear to have ever been groundwater at the site.
Commissioner Weber, do you have any questions?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, thank you, Eli.
Thank
I'll
you.
turn it over to Gage, who's going to talk a little bit about the impact of moving in the 2 feet and how we're going to address that with the drainage. Do you want this one or the other one, or
Let's go with the other one. Let's zoom in at the north side. I'll start there.
this one?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, so last time we talked, the site plan hasn't changed since then, so we still have senior field moving down. This north area we're opening up for soccer use, so we can fit a full-size soccer field up here. In the contaminated area here, because of the size, it is prohibitive, again, to remove the contaminants, so we're looking at that capping. So we need 3 feet of cap. As Eli said, we already have about 1 foot on site. So we're going to be adding in this area, we're going to basically cut down all those existing improvements at ground level. We're not going to disturb that existing cap now. We're going to bring in an additional minimum of 2 feet thick of clean soil. And then the top of that's going to be our soccer field. And I say minimum 2 feet because in addition to capping, we're also going to be grading this for the soccer field use. So we need to make sure that the drainage works with that, slopes work with standard fields. And really the delineation line for that improvement is going to be this path. So this side is going to be raised about 2 feet from its existing elevation. This side, because we don't want to impact this soccer field, we're going to dig down 3 feet, haul that off, and replace it with clean. So that side, we're going to keep the elevation where it is, so it still functions. And then on the east side of the path, we're going to raise that elevation. Obviously, raising the elevation will impact the current flow of water, which is generally going this direction out towards East Avenue. So to address that, we are going to be introducing a small swale here, just turf swale with a storm pipe in there with inlets, so we don't capture that water. We're going to pull it down to this area outside the contaminated zone. There is an existing 36 or 48 inch pipe that's heading out to East Avenue. So we're going to end that storm line into a PMP. So most of this is underground gravel, and so this is the standard village NWRD detail.
END.
Best management practice. So a lot of stuff kind of falls under that umbrella. We have to determine which one's best for this site. So we're using the same systems at Community Center, Elm, I think might have one, but it's basically, for this instance, it's underground gravel so that the water comes out of the pipe, slows down into that gravel before it picks up in another pipe. So it slows it down before it enters the mainstream of the stormwater, and also allows some of it to percolate back in the soil and can get brought up by whatever plants are above that stone pocket.
Can you point to where that would be?
So that's going to be here.
Well, that's the garden.
So yes, we're proposing potentially some other future improvements that can be built over top of that. So basically, we're slowing down all the water we're catching there, and we're going to pipe it out to where it ultimately goes anyways. This area that we're raising, we're going to continue that flow out towards East Avenue, so that's really not disrupted. And then also with the courts, we're going to go ahead and build those up on top of the contaminated too, mainly because the courts and the volleyball courts are actually already kind of a cap for that. So no sense in digging down, removing contaminants, just to cap it with something that would work anyways, so just from a cost standpoint. But below this mark, down to where the end of the delineated contaminated soils are, we're going to go ahead and scoop out, like we're doing that other part, 3 feet, so that we can maintain the existing grade in this area. And so the parking lot will maintain the existing stormwater flow and elevation there. The access will remain the same. We'll just grade it to make sure that it's easily accessible. Yeah.
The grading for the soccer fields, is that going to be noticeable?
The rise.
Yeah.
So the edge of it, it's not going to be a wall of dirt.
Okay.
So we're going to feather into it. It's 5:1, 6:1, easily maintainable. But there will be a noticeable small rise over about 20, 30 feet to that.
Hey, Doug, I just change the level. We're talking
Yeah,
about overall that slope of the field.
Both, really.
Yeah, and part of it's also, so we're capping and we're kind of changing the grade because part of our original proposal was to fix the grading out here anyways, because of the senior field, the outfield slopes too much. So the grading in here is, we're trying to kind of solve 2 issues, a playable field, but also cap. So that whole area is not going to look like what it looks like today.
I'm trying to remember the last time it rains really hard, if the street floods
It will.
as you're making a right. So what we're doing here, what we're proposing to do, the drainage is really from the pathway line. We're not changing anything, it sounds like, very much on that corner.
Up here,
Yeah,
right, we got to cap it,
okay,
but the overall slope of it's not going to be much different than it is today.
okay.
But it's going to just be higher. So at the edge of the site, we are going to dig out contaminants so we can feather the new grades in. So it's not going to be a wall of dirt at the edge of the site too, because the contaminants right now go to the property line. So we got to dig some of that out so that we can do a nice gentle slope back down to the existing grade at the property line.
Towards the road.
Towards the road, yes.
So that's just going to be a grade. There won't be embankments or anything?
No embankments. It's going to be like the 5:1 slope is what we're aiming for.
So can I interrupt?
No, go ahead.
So the topographical map, the highest point seems to be in the lower left corner of this proposed soccer field. So the flow that you're projecting is not going to be much changed historically to where we're doing now.
Correct, and this is existing topo. So for reference, this is the infield of senior field. That's why it's kind of higher, it slopes out from there. So yeah, we're matching the existing flow. It's just we have to pipe the stuff that's coming off that field, which really shouldn't be much. It's a turf field, it's not a parking lot. So whatever flow does come off of that, we'll capture and bring down to that pipe.
Any other questions? Commissioner Weber, do you have any questions?
No, I do not have any questions.
But these projections that you're giving are pre-testing results where we may not have to do as much work on the A, B, and C part. Is that correct?
So overall, that's not going to affect other than what we have to, the amount we have to dig out.
Okay.
So the best hope that we have is this area up here, the contaminants can be pulled out because we do have some existing trees we'd love to save. We can't save it if there's contaminants, we can save it if that line. But the other 2 we were digging out and meeting existing grade. So obviously we would love to make our hole a little bit smaller.
Good.
Further questions?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gage and Eli. You're welcome to stay, but you can go if you want. Have a good night.
All right, at this time, we'll move to agenda item 3. And I'm looking for approval of the Minutes of the regular board meeting dated July 14, 2025. Approval of the minutes of the regular board meeting of August 11, 2025. Approval of the financial reports dated August 31st, 2025. And approval of the consolidated vouchers for September dated September 8th, 2025.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Posey?
Yes.
Commissioner Veer?
Yes.
Commissioner Weber?
Yes.
Commissioner Carter?
Yes.
President Opid?
Yes. Let's move on to staff reports.
Okay. So I put at all of your place settings, you will see an OSLAD grant. You'll see an OSLAD grant program resolution of authorization. So this should have been on the agenda, and we did not get it on, but we need to get it approved. So what this resolution does, it's going to be Resolution 2504. It is for the OSLAD grant for Sedgwick Park that we are applying for. It says that we have the funds available to do the project, that we will complete it within the 2-year time frame, and that if we do not fund it once approved or step back from the project, we will not be able to get another OSLAD grant for 2 years. So this is a standard practice to put in the application. The application is due September 30th. So I'm looking for consensus tonight to move forward with the resolution of authorization, R2504, and then we will ratify it next meeting.
Can you repeat that last statement before the closing where you said something you can't do within 2 years? Like get another grant or something?
No.
What was that? What was the comment about we won't do something?
If we get the grant,
Yeah.
and then we don't move forward with it or don't fund it, we will not be eligible for another OSLAD grant
Thank
for
you.
2 years.
I missed the first part.
Yeah. So I'm just looking for a consensus. I just would like to do a roll call on it, just because it is for the OSLAD grant.
One more question. So
Yeah.
on that it says within 3 years. So is that after the year of approval, you get 2 years?
Yes, from this application, it'll be
Okay.
so. Okay, so
I have a quick question. So
Sure.
we're voting on whether to proceed with the application, but not what we're going to do yet, right?
we've already voted on what the plan. And so this is just the resolution stating that we have the budget for it, that we can complete it within 2 years, and that we agree to move forward with it and not step back. Otherwise, we'll be not eligible for an OSLAD grant for 2 years.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so Commissioner Veer,
Yes.
Commissioner Posey,
Yes.
Commissioner Carter,
Yes.
Commissioner Weber,
Yes.
President Opid.
Yes.
Perfect.
Jenny?
Yeah.
Sedgwick spelled incorrectly.
Oh, okay. We'll get that fixed.
I know you will.
Thanks. Okay, also I gave you a safety manual. So we've revamped the entire safety manual, and we're looking to, this is the draft, so we're giving it to the board to pre-review before next meeting. If you have any changes, so you should look at this as a completely new document. The other document will be completely redlined and discontinued, and this will be our new safety manual. If you have any changes, if you could let us know by October 8th, so we're giving you a month, and then we'll need that timeline to make the changes. And if you have any questions, please let me know. I did want to let the board know that we have been working. We will be putting a timer on our electric vehicle chargers. So they will be, that timer will be turned on during our operating hours only. Currently, they're open 24 hours, and we have people parking in the parking lot overnight. That wasn't for their intended use. It was for the use of our participants. So we are going to be putting timers on the EV stations, hopefully this week, if not in the next couple weeks. Just a quick update about the referendum. Elm is wrapping up. They're doing some flood testing. We are still waiting for a lot of our site furnishings that won't be here till October, some of those benches and garbage cans and picnic tables. So some of those items will not be in, but we want to get the parks open as quickly as we can, and they'll come back and put those in when they can. So I don't have a dead timeline on Elm, but you should see that opening soon. Spring is looking good. I hope people have seen the big slide. We're getting lots of comments from kids. They're very excited to go down it, and parents. We are waiting. There was some pieces missing from the playground, so they are waiting on those before we can get that open, so it will remain closed for a little bit longer. We're also waiting on the shelter. The shelter won't be here for a little bit of time, and the site furnishings. Rotary, we did just receive the MWRD permit last week, so we're good to move forward, and you'll start seeing the playground put up in that area soon. Community center, we are still waiting on the MWRD permit. Gordon, we are still waiting on the MWRD permit. The shade structure, I did want to mention, that will be completed in 2026, the spring of 2026, just because we won't have that. We're still waiting on some of the timelines, the lead times for the band shell and things like that too. So we'll keep the board posted. Denning, we are working on the disconnects from the building, so that can come down. We are still waiting on the MWRD permit, but we're doing as much work as we can without it. And then Sedgwick and Gilbert, those are 2026 projects. I did just want to talk briefly about, we have had some requests from Little League. They are looking to potentially install clubhouses or crow's nests behind the home plate. So I can show kind of what they're thinking. This was one of the examples. I can make this a little bigger maybe. That they've shared with us. So it's kind of a big structure to put behind home plate. That's kind of the side of it. And then they had an open concept too. Staff knows that there's been a lot of feedback from the residents about new structures. We also have some concerns too, just about, this type of building does increase electricity and different elements like that, bills, indirect costs. We found kind of these portable units. They have all different kinds. Staff felt this might be a good compromise between what Little League is looking to do to have kind of a recognition and a place to scorekeep, but also keeping our land free from structures, and no concrete would be needed, different elements like that. So they're also requesting, they did talk about potentially bathrooms, but I think they've kind of held off on that. They feel the bathrooms that we're putting in are too far. So again, we asked kind of what they were thinking, where they were thinking, and they've decided to put a pause on that, it sounds like, to see how the current bathrooms go. And then some paver work by the concession stand. Staff is so appreciative when Little League helps out and gets involved. We do appreciate it, but we do have some concerns about the timeline and the timing with our projects coming up. We've asked them, just like we've asked handball, to kind of hold off until we get through our projects so then they could do their projects. They are very eager to get their projects done, but there are a lot of concerns with having two different contractors on site working. Who's liable if something's broken? We don't know who did it. So just kind of looking for a little bit of feedback from the board on some of these elements that they're looking to do, and thoughts on timing.
My first
Stephanie, would you mind using the microphone?
Oh, sure.
I'm sorry. Thank you.
My first question was, you raised it, which is, well, what do the neighbors think when they're looking out their front window? Because those do appear to be kind of large structures.
Mm-hmm.
My other concern would be, is it like an attraction for people to try to climb in and break into it? So those are my first issues. And I agree that it probably makes more sense for us to do our projects first before moving on to affiliate projects. And I appreciate your note about how it could be confusing who's in charge during those two overlapping projects. I'm in favor of keeping things as simple and efficient as possible.
So I would agree, and I think that the structure is large, not too attractive, and kind of onersome, I guess. I do like your plan for the portable one on wheels and stuff. I think that's a great idea. And you can use it at one park or the other, or you can have two of them.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a great idea. You can store them winter time. As far as the bathrooms, I have no problem if they're going to totally fund the bathrooms. I think they went down that avenue before and found the cost pretty prohibitive.
Yeah.
But it also depends on the location. And I think that if they're going to do bathrooms, maybe just have those bathrooms, since we already have bathrooms in the park, just have them open when they're having games or practices, and that would be less intrusive to all the truckers coming by and using them.
Okay.
Yeah, hi, Jenny, and I would like to, when we were doing, that's an understood, they were, because there's so many core bodies there, even with the bathrooms we're putting up, I would imagine. So, if they're going to fund it, then if just like Bob said, if they're locked up and only used during games, I think, we could consider that and look at it. And as far as I don't see the structures, I'm sorry, I can't see that right now. But the last board meeting I was at, I was definitely looking at the topics along the back, the feel of the more connected field.
You're breaking up on us. Are you stating that at one of the last board meetings when the clubhouse for the senior center was going in, you were stating you'd like to see something similar?
Yes, I think the style of the neighbor's field. I think that a little bit, yes.
Can you try one more time? You were having a hard time. I took you off speaker to see if I could understand what you're saying. Try it now.
Yeah, so, what else? I would like it to be the same style of on the Little League fields, for both fields, as long as, I'd like to look and see what that looks like for us.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Is that enough feedback for you at this point, or do we need, because there's no decision here, I think it's
No
more just a general
decision.
direction.
I think if we
Staff,
can
right?
let them know, because again, they're very eager, we're concerned they're going to redo these pavers right by the concession stand, and then something happens and gets damaged next year by us, and then we have to replace them. So we would just prefer, I think staff is looking for consensus on construction schedule in
Okay.
2027.
So what I sense that the commissioners, at least Stephanie, you had stated you would be in favor of kind of waiting to stagger this. Anyone else have an opinion on that?
No, I agree with that.
You agree with that?
I agree with
Brad, okay. Chris,
Yeah,
are you okay to send that message at least, that we stagger this so that we create single liability, if you will?
Well, I wouldn't want to wait till 2027. That's a long time from now. Maybe there's things that they can do and things that they can't do. So maybe there's a hybrid of what works as they continue to, I think, doing a pretty amazing job making Sedgwick look great at the Little League fields. So maybe there's some things that make sense and some things that don't.
Okay, your opinion is noted.
Thank you.
I think we still have 4 that are suggesting maybe we postpone. And I do want to say, you said it very well, the Little League has made some great improvements and it does look a lot better over there. So I want to acknowledge that. They've done a great job.
That's all I have. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? All right.
One question.
You mentioned about the EV chargers being on a timer
Mhm.
and then turned off at night. You meant the EV chargers will be turned off at night, not the timers. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. I'm not sure I got that right.
And then just a reminder, next month's meeting will be here, not the community center.
All right, let's move on to Jamie to talk about finance and human resources.
I just wanted to, I don't ever use this, can you hear me?
You're good.
Sorry, I'm only using it because of Commissioner Weber. I just wanted to make note, Jamie did present the 24-25 audit. As a result of the audit, I did include updated financial reports that date to end of fiscal year, so April 30th. There were some just final auditing, adjusting journal entries, so I did provide the board as of April 30th, 2025, along with my regular monthly August statements as well. And then I kind of just wanted to mention, I'm sure everyone's well aware, second installment of 2024 property tax bills have yet to go out. As a homeowner, you're probably thinking, yay. I just wanted to point out, we don't have a set date yet from Cook County, so that just kind of means we don't know as a district when we're getting those property tax installments from that second installment tax bill. Right now, we're sitting in a very stable and steady financial basis without having that property tax revenue come in. If I have updates, I will keep the board apprised as to when those might be going out. I'm hoping that we'll have an update within the next month. That's hopeful. So I just wanted to keep the board apprised of that.
Thank you. Any questions? All right, Kevin, let's talk about recreation.
So the rec department's in the full swing of fall. Preschool started today. We have 3 classes running. Everything went great today. Base is in their 3rd week of their program. So far, so good. We are, for the most part, fully staffed. At this juncture, we are trying to hire some additional staff to provide some additional support at our larger sites. Today also was the first day of our new hire. Hired Andrew Bogren to be our base and camp supervisor. So he's coming to us from Hickory Hills. He's been in the field about 3.5 years or so. When he was at Hickory Hills, he oversaw just about every program. They're a very small district, so he had his hands in a lot there. So he's done summer camp and before after school before. So we're happy to have him, get him acclimated. And then outside of that, just want to make the board aware, we will be participating in Skeletober this year through LGBA. So Katie Wagner, our marketing specialist, has it all set up. There will be in the social area of the rec center a little display of 3 skeletons highlighting adult and teen programming and our dance program. It'll be a picture opportunity for the community to take part in that scavenger hunt type event that they do. So happy to answer any questions in my report.
All right, seeing no questions, we'll move on to Mike to talk about facilities and operations.
Good evening, everybody. I did want to just start with providing a quick update. I had mentioned at our last meeting that we were going to have a facility maintenance project involving the flooring at this facility. So it is a regular annual project here. We did complete that the weekend of the August 23rd and 24th. The facility was closed during that time. There was effective communication that went out to all of our members and patrons in a timely manner to make them aware of it. We're very happy with the results of the carpet cleaning and the waxing of the floors throughout the facility. And moving on to fitness, all good news to report. We continue to have a very strong summer at the Grange Fitness. Numbers are up in several of our areas of services. And then as we move into fall, we did make a change to our group fitness registration process. We actually went away from the typical registration that we would normally do for other park district programs in the recreation area where people would sign up for classes ahead of time. We went to a first come, first served basis. That is standard across the industry. Most gyms and fitness centers do that since classes are included in the membership. We will continue to track participation, and this was our first week doing that. And then we looked at participation numbers from this time last year when the registration process was still in place. And we actually surpassed those participation numbers this week with 517 participants first week of September versus last year at this time it was 460. So it has been a success so far. We'll continue to closely monitor it. Take any questions if anybody has any.
How's the feedback on the change?
What's that?
How's the feedback from the participants?
So far, I haven't heard anything, which is usually good. Some of the desk staff have said that it's just going to take some getting used to, which is okay. I mean, if that's the only problem I'm kind of hearing, that's totally fine with me. So I think people do enjoy not having to log in or stop at the desk to sign up for classes when they can just show up as they wish to attend.
Did you have any classes that were overbooked and we had to turn people away?
Yes, we did. Those are some of our popular classes, which if we had the registration process in place still, those classes would have just been full anyway. So those people that were turned away, unfortunately, they may not have been able to get into that class anyway had we stuck with the regular registration process. So that's just true with any class that is very popular, and we might have capacity limitations in the room itself.
Any additional questions for Mike? Okay, let's move on to Parks and Maintenance. Larry?
Hello. I don't have much to add. I would like to touch base on September 29th to October 1st will be an all parks herbicide application. They will be out in the morning, so it shouldn't affect any affiliate program going on. I open up to any questions.
Okay, seeing no questions for Larry, why don't we move to action items?
Okay. This is the only item on the agenda. So back in March, the board had approved the 2 bathroom structures that were going in, one at Sedgwick and one at Denning Park. We had an estimated budget. When I talk about budget, this is all projections. Nothing's we didn't have we budgeted $700,000 within the budget for the program, for the 2 projects, $300,000 for Denning and $400,000 for Sedgwick. Well, those came back at $873,177. So it came in $173,000 over budget, or what we thought the budget would be. So with that. And it's also a 10 to 12 month lead time to even get the prefab bathrooms. So White & Company came back to us and said that they could actually design the buildings and build the buildings, and it would come in at a cost closer to $700,000. So if the board approves this, there's a contract for $60,000 to come up with the design. Then we would present that design back to the board for approval, and then we would move forward with that. The main component here is getting it closer to the $700,000, and the timeline is much more speedy. They said it would be a 5 to 7 weeks once they're approved, so we would be able to get them in a much quicker time frame. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Is there any concerns with materials and material costs going up unexpectedly?
We're hoping to go out to bid towards the end of the month or early October. We're hoping that we're going to get in before some of these increases, but we won't know until we go out to bid. But there's different products they can use. They would keep it as maintenance free as possible. Keep it it may not look exactly like these, but it would be a similar product and style.
Okay. Thank you.
These are just samples.
This is what you approved
Oh,
at the March meeting. So because you guys approved it, I wanted to make sure you understood the process. Again, it's a $60,000 contract, which needs board approval to go forward with this different direction.
So a question on that 60,000 though, you've noted here the $700,000 budget, that includes the 60,000,
That
is
would
correct?
be, that would be the goal. Now, there's no guarantee that we can get them back down to 700,000 based on increases, but again, we will have all that information once we go through the process. But White was pretty confident that they could get it pretty close to that 700,000.
So the ones we approved, I have one comment. So on the one for Denning, they have that overhang over the doors. I think they should have that on both of them.
Okay,
If they're gonna, it's just nice to have somewhere to stand
Sure.
if there's drizzle or salt
Sure.
or whatever. Yeah.
yeah, okay. Any other questions?
No, like what?
If there's no questions, we'd just be looking for that motion.
I move to approve the restroom facility final design and engineering professional service proposal with White and Company
In the amount of $60,000.
in the amount of $60,000.
I'll second.
Commissioner Posey,
Yes.
Commissioner Veer,
Yes.
Commissioner Weber,
Yes.
Commissioner Carter,
Yes.
President Opid.
Yes. 6.0, I don't believe there's any old business or new business. We'll go to 7, committee reports. Commissioner Veer, any updates?
None.
All right, Commissioner Carter, I don't think we have any updates on parks and facilities.
No, other than what happened with the main opening.
Yeah, would you like to talk about that?
Yeah, it was nice. It's nice to see a bunch of kids there playing, and I thought it was a great start.
Ditto. Commissioner Posey, any updates on the recreational and cultural programming?
No.
All right. This is our second opportunity for public comments tonight, so again, I'll open the floor. Same rules apply. Please state your name and address, and we ask you to kindly limit comments to 3 minutes. So I'll open the floor again. We will pass the mic around just to make sure everybody's heard.
My name is Marion Hannah Wilson. I live at 950 8th Avenue, and I'm also the president of the Community University Group of LaGrange area. And I would like to remind the board and all the public that we have our 34th annual Race Unity Rally on next Sunday, September 14th at Village Hall at 3 p.m. and everyone is invited. This is a wonderful community event to celebrate the diversity in our community, and our featured speaker this year is Desiree Scully, the Executive Director from Aging Care Connections, and we also have a number of youth involvement, several high school students and elementary students talking about diversity and equity and belonging and inclusion, and also the children's choir, which is always a big hit. So please come out, and we also have a documentary that we're showing on Friday evening, September 12th at the Public Library, and that's at 6 p.m. We're serving pizza. And that should also be a great screening and discussion of a documentary called A Binding Truth. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Rose Mystique, 911 South Stone. I just have a couple questions. I noticed that some bushes have been removed by Gurry Middle School. I don't know if that was done by the Park District, by the tennis courts, some bushes at Spring Avenue. I was just wondering if there's any plans to replace some of the just foliage, just plants that have been removed, just so it's not all.
On the school property?
I don't know, I guess.
The tennis courts are the schools, so.
Yeah, and then just to the north of there was a whole bunch of like arborvitaes and.
That wouldn't be us.
That would be,
That would
and
be
at
the
Spring
school.
Park, I know in the front, all those bushes were removed, and so I'm just wondering, I don't know if it's for safety, I don't know why all the bushes were removed around the perimeter. I mean, I look forward to seeing what it is, but, you know, if there's safety concerns, can they be lower, just something more, you know, environmentally friendly, attractive, just added to the parks in general. And then spraying, I was wondering which parks are gonna be sprayed with the herbicide, and do you spray playgrounds too, or is it just the lawns? Just the lawns. Okay. Thank you. Anybody else?
First off, can we Could we put the screen back up? I'll pass this along. And this is the pictures of the flooding that comes off of Sedgwick Park. That's 49th Street. That's the handicap ramps. We have a park that generates 600,000 gallons of water from 1 inch of rain. And I think our gentleman from White was a little wrong in some of his estimations on where the water comes off of that park. If we move this up a little bit, the water comes down in between the two baseball fields, comes down in here, in this area. It comes down to the handicap ramps that are right there. And there's thousands of gallons of water that come out into the combination sewer, that is the 49th Street combination sewer, that goes all the way up to Grange Road. So I believe that you people are going to have to contain your water at the handicap ramps because it's causing the people at 10th Avenue to flood, 9th Avenue, 8th Avenue. There's a depression up by LaGrange Road that causes it to flood because 49th Street combination sewer takes the whole enchilada all the way to Willow Springs Road. The deep tunnel project, there's a 54-inch sewer that goes to the corner, and that is the combined sewer overflow for the whole south basin. And that's millions and millions of gallons. So you people, I was hoping that this park would be the savior and help us. But with what you guys are planning on doing, we're going to get buried down here. So everybody out in this audience has got equity in their homes. If this park fails, everybody there is going to lose equity. And there's people with $4 or $5 million houses now. So we're relying on you people to make the right decisions. This is the water line that goes across this park. Right here. It goes all the way to Bluff. And this has contaminants on either side of there. The EPA made the Nicor gas plant. They had to dig the pipe up on the outside of it and take all the contaminants out and replace the line twice. So this stuff is toxic that's there. So I hope each one of you realize that you have the control of remediating this place the right way, or everybody here faces the chance of losing some equity in their homes. And I'm not liking what I heard from TSC or whatever the name of the company is that does this, because they couldn't even get right their history on what was across the street on the north end of the park. They couldn't tell us that it was, in 1909, a gas manufacturing plant. And many of those chemicals that are in this park probably are from there. And if you just did your homework, the gas company still might be liable to help us bail out of this thing. But I haven't heard any word of anybody going to the ICC to find out if they can open that case back up. So, you people are the ones that control our whole destiny of the east side. And I'm not liking what I'm seeing, because if we can't control the water off of here and take care of the problems correctly, we've got major problems.
Yes, John. Thank you.
Here's your papers.
Additional comments this evening?
We'll take it.
I'll say I second what
Name and address, please. Name and address, please.
Danielle DeWall, 855 12th Avenue, actually Dr. DeWall. But yeah, I definitely agree with John. I just realized recently what he was actually explaining, the real concern there, and I'd like the water in my area to be tested. And those have kind of come up as issues and concerns, so I'd like to know what you guys have done or can do in that regard, and if there's a solution to how to properly clean the water if we're exposed and stuff.
Thank you for your comment. Additional comments this evening? Please.
Hi, my name is Mark Bentley. I live at 740 South 7th Avenue in the Grange. I want to thank John personally for all the work he's put into this. It's always nice to have checks and balances for the projects that are going through. We have a child that grew up here. Now we have two granddaughters that live on 9th Avenue, and I'd just like to make sure that things are looking good for the future of our families.
Thank you. Please.
I'm Jim O'Connor. I live at 645 South 10th. As I listened here, where the probable source of the contaminants are, I'm not sure that I heard anything that's covered over, I believe, a parking lot across the road, 47. But I don't know that there's anything that's preventing ongoing bleaching, I'm going to call it, from that original site. You didn't speak to it. I wish. I know you got more. You wanted to comment, but that's an important consideration. I mean, who says that's closed? That thing was there and it was highly contaminated. And I hope it is. Maybe it is. Maybe 3 feet of dirt. Maybe not. Maybe means maybe not equal. So, yeah, I mean, John's talking about down there, up here, and I live on 49th, but up there, I mean, I don't think if there is continuing bleaching there, I don't think 3 feet of cover is going to do anything to help. Okay.
Thank you. Any additional comments? All right. Thank you very much. Please.
Norman Madsen, 708 10th Avenue. I'm just wondering, if they're going to add soil to the park, it's going to raise the level, what's that going to do to the 47th Street intersection? They got problems now already. What's going to happen here? What kind of drainage is going to be put in to take care of this? I concur with John on all these different things that are going on. I don't think the testing is done. What was it that you were talking about that wasn't on the agenda?
I'm not sure what you're referring to.
We're getting money from some place?
Oh, that has nothing to do with this park. That has nothing to do with this park.
Okay. Because the testing hasn't been done yet. Decisions are being made. The testing hasn't come in yet. And they need to test the whole park. A lot of rain's been coming down. More rain than I've seen for a while. That water level's going to rise. All of these various chemicals are going to move. They don't just stay in one place.
Well, clearly they do, because they've stayed for however many years now, and we need an analytical chemist. I have a PhD and know how to do that, but I don't have a lab. But we would need an analytical chemist to determine those chemical compounds in there.
I think this needs to be done right.
So if I may, I want to add something here just to make sure we're on the same page. There were soil samples that were taken throughout the entire park. That was done very early in this process. And as a result of that initial testing, that's why we're focusing on that one area. So to be clear, we did bore everywhere, and it was just that one corner that was identified as a problem. So just want to share that to make sure we're all on the same
Are there
page.
cisterns in this?
Cisterns?
Cisterns
Catch
or something?
basins. Catch basins.
Catch basins in the park. Are those tested?
As we said, no, not yet. We talked about that earlier with...
And they will not be tested.
Yeah, we're not
I
planning
guess
on
the
testing.
magic question is, are you going to test the catch basins?
No.
Yes or no?
That's not in the plan
Is
right now.
that what the answer is?
Mhm.
Okay.
Guy is those catch basins being tested? What is the reasoning behind that?
Because there's no way to identify where those sources come from. And that's what Eli from
so
TSC.
he is-
This isn't, we're not going to get into a debate.
No, but he had
Yeah.
said that it would open a liability.
Because you don't know where those come from.
But you tested at the top of the park, the catch basins, but you didn't test any towards the
We didn't
No,
test
we
any
didn't test
catch
any
basins. No, we just
took,
did
we took soil
samples.
borings of the dirt in the ground to make sure that the dirt on the land down to bedrock and what's in it. Is the dirt clean or not? That was the objective of the testing, because we want to make sure, and I'm going to speak for the board here very clearly. We said our goal is to make sure that the park is safe for our children and future generations. So, that's the goal here. We want to address what we can with this project to make sure that that's safe.
Could I speak one more time?
If you could keep it to 1 minute, and I would ask John only for new information, sure.
Pardon me?
Yes, if you can keep it to 1 minute, and I would ask only for new information that we haven't heard from you before, if you don't mind.
My question would be, how much would it cost to do the 5 catch basins by the baseball fields? Are we talking $50,000? What's one life worth? What's one life worth to you? And it might not happen for 10 years. Somebody might come down with the benzos cause all type of liver cancers and bladder cancers and everything like that. We won't know until it's too late.
Okay, thank you, John. Additional comments?
So Steve Guggenheim, 3216 Avenue. I'm a geologist by training, and I agree with what John generally has said. I also agree that doing the catch basins really isn't going to help, because you can't identify the source of that. But I had a concern about, Eli, I think, said that all the water that was going to come off of that was going to be directed to what was the diameter of that?
36.
A 36-inch pipe. And that 36-inch pipe is already running at capacity when there is a rain. So I caught him as he was leaving, and he said, well, it was only a proposal, but you have to look at the possibility that what he's saying is not going to work, and then what are you going to do? And I can tell you right now that 36-inch pipe is not going to be able to hold any additional water, because it is already running at capacity, because it drains a large section of the town.
Thank you.
And I just want to state, I understand what you're saying, but everything we do will have to go through the process of getting approved by the village and MWRD. So we will make sure whatever solution is chosen and presented fits in with their approval as well.
But I think before you start agreeing to any of this, you should recognize that you need alternatives. What if the pipe isn't going to work? What are you going to do then? You shouldn't just approve something that is something that's fixed.
But we
Because
haven't approved anything yet.
you have to go through the process all over again.
This is the process, though. We're gathering all the information that we need to make a well-reasoned decision that fits within all these other moving parts. So we are in the process of managing risk to the public, and the public's health, as our president said, is of the utmost importance. As people who use the park, who live in the neighborhood, I live just a couple blocks away, and my kids play baseball at the park. We are at the park all the time. So while we may not live right, as close as I think some of you do to Sedgwick, we use the park. I drive by that park multiple times a day. That's why I asked my questions about, where's the water going to go? We are gathering information. We are listening to what the issues that you're raising. We're taking all that in, and at the same time, we also have to rely on the professional experts that are writing reports for us too. So it's all part of our process. We're still in the process. So I think that needs to be noted as well, that we're not making decisions today. That's why we don't have that on the agenda today.
One more comment, if I can ask the question, is that there are two separate issues. One is the flooding and one is the drinking water. So I honestly feel that the water, something's not right with the water. It's not the same as where I grew up. My mother's water in Lincolnshire. I can smell VOCs. So I just want to know if there's some way we can really focus in on like testing the water, and if there are contaminants, because this pipe, it's old, it's going to be degraded by these compounds, and that's important to just check like right away. Maybe if there's any consultants you guys have used who would do that, or EPA. That is my most pressing issue with living here at this moment.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Does it come out if you distill it?
So just to be clear, the water supply is managed by the village, so really they have oversight for that. So if that's a concern you have, I would encourage you to also speak there.
I understand is under the.
I understand that. I'm just telling you, most of the water is managed by the village itself, so that would be another great place you could go with that concern. I'm not trying to dismiss it. I just want you to understand how that fits in, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to try to limit to new comments if I can, because I want to make sure we get through everybody. Has everybody had a chance to comment? I'll give you 30 seconds, Jim, if you want to.
I don't need 30 seconds. I have a question on the agenda. It said action items. So what this apparently is, gaining information for future action you might take. Because it looks here like, when I'm reading it, you might be voting on approval, not approval, or whatever, when I read this agenda. Does that make sense? Or what is the number?
Under action items, it says 5.1, so there's an item listed. That's the only item that the board can vote on. We can't vote on anything that's not on the agenda.
I understand, but it said, okay, so engineering, and this and that, whatever. It didn't have anything to do with what? Find what you're going to do finally with respect to Sedgwick.
There's
Park.
That's
no,
correct.
yeah.
That's correct. So we're gathering information just like you are. You're here for the same reason, I assume, which is to learn more about this, right? So that's why we're here.
Probably my fault. Well, I was fooled about that. I didn't want the action taken.
No.
Sure.
So
Okay.
if you want to be present for a voting item, that would be under action item.
Or board business.
All right, or board business, yeah. So, but all the other things are discussions.
All right. Discussion items.
Okay, I'm gonna let Rose go for the final comment, please.
Yes, so,
Thank you.
I've talked about the drainage before and stormwater management. I would have loved to have seen more attention and things. Are you familiar with what's happening at Springdale Park in Western Springs? I know it's different because they have a stormwater utility fee, but they are doing a whole stormwater management project there. So I just urge you to see what kind of, detention they have there, because I think that is something that was missing from our plan from the start, and I know I brought it up before, but you might want to just see what they're doing there as well for future.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah.
All right, I'll close public comments for the evening, and I will ask for any commissioner comments.
Everybody's gone, but
They don't want to hear you.
they know I was going to speak. I just want to confirm that what the Park District does is, according to all EPA standards, to all MWRD standards, to all county standards, to all village standards, and
Personal standards.
and board standards. I think we're pretty ethical people. We're not trying to hide anything. All the testing has been done at the park. So it's not like we're hiding it. There's no conspiracy. And I just want to give the public notice that we are have our best, I live near the park, so I have my best interest in the village's best interest as well. I just want to say Wyola Park looks awesome, and I look forward to the other parks looking as awesome or better.
Any comments, Brad?
No, I'm good.
Okay, I'll just say I also really enjoyed Wyola Park grand opening. Thanks, staff, for being there to help celebrate with the community. That was wonderful. And I would also like to echo Bob's comment. I have a 6-year-old, and my 6-year-old plays tennis and has golf lessons in Sedgwick Park. And I'm going to make decisions like I have a 6-year-old that plays in that park. And I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Commissioner Weber, do you have any comments?
I have no additional comments. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
I'd like a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
All right.